during that protest, a lot of people, everyone were outside. Activists, you had all of them outside, and if you were following all of the activities via social media, you find out that some, if most or all of the activists, they got more of their followers and popularity because they lend their voice in that movement, in that EndSARS movement, either finance or whichever way, but at least they were able to do it publicly. So where were you at that time, and what activities were you able to do around that time?
I was in Minna, and I was mobilizing, especially within the northern youth, to ensure that the North was also lending its voice and trying to make the northern youth understand that if the southern youth perceive that the SARS is a problem, we can join hands with the movement and table what we also perceive is our problem. And that problem of insecurity is what we pushed alongside the EndSARS dialogue.
Now we'll begin today's program with a very popular quote from Martin Luther King Jr., an American Baptist minister and activist who became the most visible spokesman and leader in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. He once said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." You would agree with me that in some part of the world that is still on, but still work in progress. That dream, it is a work in progress. Now let's take our second quote, and this one is from Mildred Albright, an American politician and diplomat who served as the 64th United States Secretary of State from 1997 to 2001 under President Bill Clinton. She was the first female Secretary of State in the U.S. history. She once said, "So people are talking about revolution. What a revolution it would be to have a woman president." Affirmative. Absolutely spot on. Warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabel Orji. Now, human rights activists play a major role in towards the enlightenment, observation, and enforcement of human rights values in the society. Human rights activists are people who individually or collectively act to promote or protect human rights. They can be journalists, environmentalists, whistleblowers, trade unionists, lawyers, teachers, house campaigners, even presidential aspirants, and so on. Now, according to National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, they once said that the worst rights violations in Nigeria includes recurring mass atrocities and crimes, kidnapping, incessant extrajudicial killings and torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, discrimination, injustice and gross inequalities, rape, sexual and gender-based violence, and above all, impunity, weak institutions, and lack of political will to hold perpetrators accountable for several types of human rights violations. Now, meanwhile, according to Wikipedia, feminism is a range of social political movements and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of sexes. Feminism incorporates the position that societies prioritize the male point of view and that women are treated unjustly within those societies. Now, efforts to change that include fighting against gender stereotypes and establishing educational, professional, and interpersonal opportunities and outcomes for women that are equal to those of men. Now, on the other news, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, recently in Abuja, received a letter of intent by a human rights activist and feminist, Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova, declaring her intentions come 2023 for the position of President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. The human rights activist is said to be the second person in the party and also the second female to declare same intention come 2023. Now, let's take this report from KAFTANTV's correspondent Mavis Ako, and we'll be back with more on the conversation. Take a listen.
I am aspiring for the position of the President of Nigeria.
The second female presidential aspirant 2023, Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova, has emerged from the Social Democratic Party, SDP. The human rights activist made this known to reporters on Thursday in Abuja while submitting her letter of intent to the National Secretary, SDP, Shehu Musa Gabam. According to reports, women have been underrepresented in the government and different institutions. Though the historical tendencies still persist, Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova has taken the lead to rewrite history.
The mentees and the fellows of the Institute decided that it was time for us to step into the mainstream and reclaim the spaces as women, as youths, as women and men who are youth-friendly. And so I accepted that invitation. And I am here today to submit my letter of intent to Social Democratic Party because we checked the existing parties and we discovered that the SDP is a socialist party. It runs with a socialist agenda. It is a party that is built on principles of credibility, of transparency and accountability, of inclusivity, and it encourages everybody to come on board.
The SDP stakeholders, welcoming the female activist, reiterate commitment to conduct a very transparent primaries.
If you've just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we have our guest. She is Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova. She is a presidential aspirant. She's also a feminist and a human rights activist. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for hosting me today.
Thank you for making our time to come to our studio. All right, now let's start by getting up close and personal with you.
Oui.
So very quickly, let's know who Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova is.
Yeah, okay. So I always like the conversation to start with my native name because I like to feel very Nigerian and very Gbai. So my name is Chesa Milo Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova.
Okay.
I am a human rights activist. I am a feminist. Now, if I have the opportunity to just say, people have been mixing up the term feminism
or feminist definitely get to that.
Women liberation. Okay, so
we'll get to that.
Well, so we'll get to that. I'm the founder and executive director of the International Center for Sexual Reproductive Rights. It's a non-governmental organization that works with youth and with women and works with diverse stakeholders to make sure that the interventions that we are implementing for women and for young people are human rights inspired.
Okay.
And I have also founded Social Change Initiative, which is an initiative that has brought on board young people and women in their diversities, building their capacity to engage with the political structure in Nigeria. I'm a mother. I'm a mother of three men. And what else is there to say? So I do psychotherapy. I am also an evangelist. I do a lot of work, you know, within the sector of the Christian body in Nigeria and also globally. I have worked in the past with the university as a lecturer. I've done drug law enforcement agency, and spent time a lot doing advocacy work in the United Nations, in the European Union, and in the African Union.
Oh, great. Oh, all right. That's quite a very handful or mouthful resume you have there.
Yeah, it's quite a busy one. I've even truncated it. I've been a very busy person.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about activism in Nigeria, because you are a human rights activist. So now a lot of people would say that activism in Nigeria it only exists in the name or in the designation. And then because you just have a lot of people come together when they're vexed about a particular thing, they come together and then they form a group or a movement and they begin to chant we don't go grill, or they begin to say aluta continua, and then all of a sudden when they get to the room, it becomes, we decided to sheath our swords, and then we've allowed the government or whoever they're vexed with to take their time and do whatever they want to do. So for you, how has it been, activism in Nigeria? How far so far?
Well, as a women's human rights activist, for us it's not a touch and go, because women's rights issues are 24/7. Since I was born till now, those issues are still there. You know, we've made some headway in some of the issues, but in some we've not. And there are then some emerging issues, because the context are, you know, always shifting. They are always changing depending on what the global trends are. So for me, it's not a touch and go thing. You know, maybe people are used to terming certain campaigns as human rights activism. But for me, it's not just one-off campaign. Of course, I've belonged to coalitions and networks, and we have had to do certain interventions that were specific, you know, in terms of objective. And so once those objectives were attained, you know, we pulled back. But when there was backlash, we pulled back. But for a women's human rights activist like myself, it's a 24/7 all year round thing. And I've been in activism for years, and it's not a question of, you know, putting my sword back in the sheath. We are always working hard to push the envelope, to push to horizon, you know, the kind of issues that we're advocating for.
Okay. All right, now let's talk about you're an advocate, a sexual rights advocate. What is it all about?
That has to do with bodily rights. You know, it has to do with people being treated with dignity. You know, it has to do with people's integrity. So the question of my body is mine, and no one should touch it unless I permit them to do so. You know, and these are the kind of values of respect that we are passing on to people, and also the capacity to make informed decisions concerning people's bodies. For instance, people have a lump in the breast and they don't even know who to talk to. Or they go and talk to the wrong person, and the person is giving them a wrong advice. And they can feel in their guts that this is not the way to go, but they are going it anyway. You know, what happened to their right to choice over their body, that decision making? How do they weigh the options? What are the consequences they are considering before making their choices? So that is what we talk about when it comes to sexual rights. It has to do with the right over one's body. To determine that they are treated in dignity.
Oh, okay, that's fine. It's actually good that we'll be able to balance this, because at some point, some people actually, if you tell them that you're a sexual rights activist, and then the next thing they ask you, are you an activist for maybe the transgender, the lesbianism, and then the queer community? Is that what you are advocating for?
Our activism on sexual rights is very, very broad. I have had to work with these communities over the years. You know, and the reason is that sometimes they are also treated in manner that is not dignifying. I have seen instances where girls are gang raped because they are suspected to be in same-sex loving relationship. Some have been raped and they have used iron rods to penetrate them to the point that they are all torn internally. Their vagina is torn, their uterus is torn, and they are bleeding and left half dead. You know, some communities have organized community rapes on girls. You know, those are the kind of things that shouldn't happen. Two wrongs don't make a right. People deserve to be treated in dignity. If people have an issue with people being lesbian, there are better ways to go about it. than to organize for a gang rape for those kind. I mean, I don't see how that works, you know. So I have had to work with those groups, and the male groups we know and transgender communities have been prone to HIV infection, you know, and so for a long time, globally, people didn't know what to do. Initially, they thought it was a heterosexual disease until we started talking about all of these other communities that are within the larger population. And if we don't want to keep the infection moving from one cohort to another, then it is important for us to single out groups that are more vulnerable given the context in which they are. And that is how come globally there were then HIV programs for key affected populations. That is the kind of activism that I have done.
Oh, wow. That's great to know. All right, now let's talk about feminism.
Yes.
Now we see that a lot of people, especially women, they seem to get the whole concept all wrong. And then you just hear them chanting or ranting that we are feminists. And then, but then you approach some of them and then ask them, define feminism. It looks like the mentality they have is they're trying to defend themselves from what is not attacking them. Some people don't even understand what feminism is all about. So for the benefit of those who are watching us right now, be it male or female, who call themselves feminists,
yes,
help us understand, what is feminism to you?
Okay, first of all, I'm from the Puritanist segment of feminism. I don't believe that men can be feminists. I believe that men can be friends of feminists from the angle from which I come from. Now, feminist is a woman who has the capacity and the skill to analyze what happens around the society and to be able to identify where there are injustices. Is anybody being wronged through a practice, through a perception, through a program? What are those wrongs we are doing, even to the environment? And that woman is capable not only of identifying the injustices, but designing intervention strategies that correct the wrongs, that right the wrongs. So if we shut down young people and we oppress women from decision-making spaces, it is a feminist who will say, it is not right for us to shut these children down. They have a potential. Let's allow them to speak up. You know, let's mentor them so that if there are areas that need, you know, kind of trimming, we can trim so that they can put their potential into the society and then we can benefit from it. That's the work of a feminist. We are supposed to identify that women are not participating in politics. What can we do about it? We are supposed to understand that there are instances where men are not responsible when it comes to exercising their or expressing their reproductive, you know, behavior. So it is our responsibility to say, wait, it is irresponsible for a man to have sex with a girl that is 13, that is 15. It is irresponsible for a man to impregnate a girl and run away. It is irresponsible to abandon the family. You know, those are the kind of things that we do. We build capacity to smoothen relationships, not only within romantic relationships, but also work-related relationships. And we also protect the environment because that is very important. And that's feminist. I know that people mix it up with women liberation movement.
Exactly.
You know, so we need to understand the concepts. And I think that some young people may not fully understand because they've not gone through the school, you know, but everyone who's been to the school understands that feminism is not about trampling on anybody's right or feeling superior to any other person. We are equal. We are born equal in rights and in dignity. That's the Human Rights Declaration. And that's what guides the work that we do as feminists. Okay,
so at what point does a female or girl who sees herself as a feminist understand the difference that this is what you're supposed to do? Because a lot of people, they just believe that they're actually talking about when it comes to relationship, it means that I was talking to someone and then she just said her intended asked her to go make food, and then she keeps doing this all of the time, and then to her somebody told her that you shouldn't do that, and that's like, if to her, that's feminism movement.
No.
That that is, you're not supposed to. It means that you're a slave to that person. Is that? So at what point do we need to put that
I
line?
make food. I know many feminists who make food.
Now, I was using that as an example, though.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think that we need to draw a line between toxic relationships, abusive relationships, and relationships that have mutual respect. Okay. You know, if there is mutual respect in a relationship and I am making food, it doesn't make me a slave in that relationship. Am I not going to eat in the food? In fact, there are times that I have made food that I didn't eat out of it. You know, the essence is that relationships should be mutually respectful. Nobody should be treated like a slave in a relationship. Nobody should be abused and derobbed of their dignity in a relationship. You know, I've seen people who treat their partners like rag. You know, that's not how we should treat partners in a relationship. It is toxic. It can lead to death, even where abuse can be emotional, can be psychological, or even physical, you know, and economical. So we should be able to interpret the power balance in relationships in such a manner that does not predispose us to relationships that are abusive. So it's not wrong to cook, it's not wrong to sweep, it's not wrong to wash, it's not wrong to lock up the house. We are in a relationship to mutually complement each other or one another. So if one person is lording it over everyone else, then it is wrong. Okay. It is supposed to be a partnership. You know, I bring my own on board and you bring yours on board and we meet halfway. And that is how relationships work. Not one person is giving, the other person just sits down and is just receiving. You know, yeah. All
right, now I pick that part, and we have to meet ourselves, each other halfway.
Yes.
Great.
And halfway does not necessarily mean 50-50. It's equity. If my own, I have the capacity to give 70, and all you have is the capacity to give 30. I give my 70 and you give your 30. And then we have met, you know, and then it works. And that's how it should be. Let us complement one another.
Great. All right, now so let's talk about your presidential ambition. Just recently, you declared intentions to run for the biggest position in Nigeria's political space as the next CEO. What exactly inclined that decision, and at what point did it hit you that you're going to run for the office of the presidency? And that's like one. I'm going to ask like 3 questions in one. So I'm going to ask like those questions, and I like you to take them in one breath. So at what point did it hit you that you'll be running for the office of the presidency, and what kind of support, what kind of reaction, what kind of attention have you been getting since, and you're still getting?
Okay, so in ending July, mentees and fellows of one of the projects that I designed and I'm co-implementing with colleagues of, you know, global renown, came together and they had a meeting. This is a project called Connecting the Dots. Connecting the Dots is connecting all our human rights and our differences to see where we intersect and how we can leverage on our strengths so that we build a stronger society that is responsive to people's various needs. So those mentees and graduates who are now fellows came together and they said, you know, we've been coached and we've been mentored in political participation for social change and civic responsibility. And 2023 is just around the corner. Why should we sit and just watch it? Why don't we take an active part in it? And so they agreed that they would participate actively. Now, the conditions already for joining that institute is that you have a voter's card, and the condition for becoming a fellow is that you've joined a political party and you are active in that party, looking at the manifesto, seeing where there are gaps, you know, and see, you know, working with the system to bridge those gaps, to encourage inclusivity so that everybody is carried along in our political struggles. So after they had that meeting, they decided that they would want to present a presidential candidate to the country, someone, and they did their analysis, you know, of the context that we're in, including the fact that, you know, women have been marginalized in politics. So if somebody was to emerge on that platform, it should be a woman. And then they had categories about the exposure of the woman, the capacity of the woman, the, you know, the antecedents, the back experience that the person has, and you know, some other political permutations, you know, to do with middle belts and all of that, to do with zoning. And they agreed that I should be the one to take up that responsibility. And so on 15th of August, to be precise, they came to Mina with a 15-page report, which they had done their sampling and analyzed, you know, to say this is what they have found out. The nation is ready, you know, for this kind of leadership that is participatory, that is inclusive, that is bottom to top, you know. And let's try, you know, and feel the woman to prove the point. And a woman who has the experience of working with various stakeholders, you know. So, and the lot fell on me. Okay. How did I receive it? Very shocked. Because I have always seen myself as someone who would mentor people to do exactly that which they were telling me to do. I struggled with it, but then eventually I had to accept it. How have people received it? Mixed feelings. You know, when people are shocked, because they are, I just tell them, well, it's fine, because I was shocked too. When they're afraid, I'm like, it's okay. I've been afraid too. But fear should not stop us from daring and from taking up challenges, you know. And then some people have been very excited, like, wow, a woman, this is brave, you know. And the reactions have really been encouraging. There have been support. Sometime, I think, last month, the Bayi associations in Nigeria, hundreds of them, came together to declare and show their support for my candidacy, you know, and there is nothing better in life than that.
Has it been all cheery? Has it been all positive? Or have there been all the negative reactions or the boos that made you want to rescind on that decision? Boos,
not yet.
But you're expecting anytime soon?
Well, this is Nigeria, you know, and I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. But if there are boos, I'm ready, you know. But I'll tell you that there are people who have expressed concern about, you know, the stress that can have on an individual, the financial stress, the security angle of it, and the thuggery, because as a human rights activist, I'm not about to surround myself with any thugs at all, you know. And my mother was particularly, you know, I don't know whether to say in shock, but she didn't know how to deal with it. But, you know, I understand, because sometimes people don't feel like they deserve the best sometimes, you know. So when people are brought up in that kind of patriarchal context where they feel like the best of the things are reserved for men, the biggest of the things, the most powerful positions are for men, and, you know, as a woman, what's taking you there? I understand it, you know, but I explained it to her, especially because she's a Christian. It was very easy to do, because there are many Christian examples, you know. So finally, last week, we were able to agree that I can continue and I have her support. And that was for me the most important breakthrough, you know. Okay, so now you're quite new in politics, and then yet you decided to start your political career at that level. So does your level of popularity, is it actually of concern to you? Because a lot of people have actually said that there are a lot of people coming out, a lot of aspirants coming out, and then they want to go straight to the presidential, to clinch the presidential ticket, when they could have started from the grassroots politics, like the grassroots politics though. But they decided to go all the way up. So, and then they don't have so much support or that kind of background or grassroots politics. So
looking at from those that have gotten the experience and then the history of Nigeria, your political history, is it of concern to you at this point?
I don't think people even know my political history to start with. And so I'm really going to go to a television station that filmed me in 1983 while I was a polling unit agent in a rural community. And I was thrown out by the opposition through the window because I wouldn't let them rig. You know, I don't think I was weighing up to 50 kg at that time. It was so easy to wrap me up with my bag and just fling me out. I have come from a family background that has played active role in politics. We may not have been in the face of the media like some of the big gurus that are there, but we have had quite an impact from my father, who was a very, very vital political figure in the Middle Belt, in the North, through to my oldest brother, who has risen quite high in hierarchy in the PDP. And my mother, who is such an astute political analyst, you know, I have always been somewhere in there, but not in the face of the cameras. And some years back, I then obtained a party card and I served in a political party. You know, I participated in committees, you know, at the local government level and at the state level. Like I said earlier, I've always seen myself as someone who is behind, just, you know, doing things that show up at the front, you know. Okay. So I am not that novice in politics in Nigeria. And as a human rights activist who understands how everything intersects, I know how much politics means to my reproductive health, for example. Okay. Because if we don't have politicians who are making the right policies concerning my access to antenatal clinic, my access to family planning or vaccinations for my children, you know, then I will be at a loss. So those are the kind of interconnections that I have picked up as I have done my activism. Okay. So from that angle, I'm also not a novice. Globally, people know me as someone who has contributed in that discourse of intersectionalities. Okay. So, and if you go online and you Google my name, you'll be surprised. I've been around the place, you know. But some of us just believe that we should, I wasn't planning at all to come to this. But I am also taking responsibility, you know, as a citizen of this country, to say that so much has gone wrong. If I have this much knowledge that has contributed not only to Nigeria, but to other countries within the region and even internationally, in terms of people-oriented program designs, why would I not bring that to bear?
All right.
Now, would I get the support? I think yes. People are tired, as I hear people say repeatedly, of the same faces being recycled, you know, over and
they keep
over
calling
again.
for the alternative.
Voila.
Okay. All right. We do for a break. Let's go on this quick break, and when we return, this conversation continues in earnest. I will see you shortly. Kind of political structure that we operate here, you must have, at least if you don't have the big bag, you must have the money bags around you, because we've seen a lot of people, a lot of aspirants who has come out to say that yes, they have the money, they have the experience. So for you, do you have the money, or you have someone who is bankrolling you? I
don't have anybody bankrolling me.
So how do you intend to run?
I don't have a big bank account anywhere to do this. I'm banking on the fact that there are many Nigerians out there, one, who love the nation like I do, with passion, and who would put everything out like I'm doing to ensure that we have a turnaround.
If you've just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now, we still have our guest. She is Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova. She is a human rights activist, she is a feminist, and she's a presidential aspirant. All right, before we went on that break, we've said quite a lot of things.
Oh, yes.
So now let's talk about your engagement with women, with other groups, since you declared your intentions to run for the office of the presidency. So now, taking a cue from the recent Anambra State election, where you had one woman, but then we're not sure she got a lot of support, especially from women. So how's it been for you?
Well, we are mobilizing and sensitizing women. It's unfortunate that most of us are socialized within the context of patriarchy, and so our minds have been skewed towards a direction. You know, it's like our constitution, it's always he. I have seen a situation where women fellowship were doing a role play, and when it came to the role of the master in the role play, they went to get a man to act that for them. You see, so there is this socialization that has made us think that if there is a leadership position, then it's a man who should occupy it. Those need to be deconstructed. And that is the process that has been on. We are not just starting. There have been women ahead of us who have, you know, blazed the trail to show that women can occupy leadership positions and also excel in those positions. So we are building on those examples, those role models, and speaking to women to understand that we can also lead when it comes to government seats. You know, we can relate it to leadership within the family. There are women who are heads of families. Somehow the man runs away, somehow they are divorced, sometimes the man has died, and they are left with the family. They make decisions.
Okay, but for this level that we're talking about, it is quite peculiar. It is the office of the president, which has quite a lot of eyes on you and all.
And that is where I'm getting to, you know, because we have to relate to the everyday experiences of the women so they can understand. We have had instances where women have emerged leaders outside the home, and we can showcase those examples to them. You know, there are communities that have female chiefs, and you know, the leadership role is not unique to the apex. It starts gradually from when you are children, you are a class captain in your class, and you are able to, you know, deal with it. And then you get into the university, you are a coordinator for your year, and then you deal with it. Maybe you're a member of the Senate, like I was in my university days, and I was very active. And then we emerge and we start work. And in the place of work, there are associations and networks, you know, and you participate and you take leadership positions and you are able to deliver. And so we just keep moving it up. I've been an executive director for years. I have been a coordinator for coalitions of NGOs. I have led groups, you know, to prepare country programs in gender and for adolescents, you know. So managing things at that level in terms of seeing what people's needs are and so on is not new. And the ability to multitask, the ability to identify resources that are useful, the ability to pull together, you know, all of those people who can contribute to make your team deliver. It's there in a woman. We know how to assign roles all the time. You know, we know how to identify where the potential is, and we know how to kind of fan and groom that potential to bloom. I was just watching a comedy, but a serious one, that said, anything you give to a woman, she makes it better and then gives it back to you. So you never get from a woman exactly what you gave to her.
You get double.
And they started by example of the, you know, sperm cell that the woman receives. She makes it into a baby and brings it out. You know, and then you bring all the groceries home, she gives you a meal. You build this structure, she gives you a home. You know, so that is, we are socialized with that inbuilt, you know, capacity to deliver. and we can deliver at all levels.
Okay, now seeing that, because sometimes as Nigerians or as Africans, we like to take other developed countries as an example. Let's look at the United States of America with over 200 years of democracy, decades there, and then yet they're yet to have a female president, unless Kamala Harris, who just became the first vice president.
And then you forget Liberia, where we had Sirleaf Jones, you know, who was president. So do we have to wait for the US? The answer is no.
But do you think that Nigeria, do you think that we are ready to have a female to become president? That's like one of its kind.
I think we are ready for something new. I think we are ready for something different, because what we've done all along has not worked. And unless we are stupid, we can't keep doing the same thing when it's not working and expect a different result. We want a different result. Everybody is hungry for justice. Everybody is hungry for peace. Everybody is hungry for prosperity. We want all of those things. So we need to do something different. And Nigerians know that at this point.
Okay, so are you familiar with the recent gender equality bill? In fact, like two of them, the gender equality bill that was that passed second reading, and then it was quashed, and then some say it was because of some English, either equality or for equity. It should better be equity instead of equality. And then I know that as a feminist, the mantra is equality and equity. And then you also have the other bill that that is advocating for female to have at least representation in the National Assembly. And then yet most of the people that brought down that bill, they are still the same people that you go back there, you're going to meet. So does this in any way bother you?
No, because I'm not even sure I'm going to meet them there. I think 2023 is going to be very radical in Nigeria. I don't think we're going to play the same card game that we've played before. I know that, you know, we are much more aware than we used to be. NSAS kind of opened eyes at all levels. We now know that if we want to see change, we have to be in the mainstream for that change to happen. Because the people who have the power are not going to relinquish it. They are enjoying the paraphernalia of it all. So they are obsessed with it. And they're not going to let go just like that. And the only way we have to get in there is by coming out ourselves. See, it's been years since 1999 that we've been working with people who have been elected, sensitizing them, building capacities. Some of them have had international exposure, just to see that, you know, we have people in there who are mindful of what you go through and what I go through. But it hasn't worked that way. Shall we continue that way? Answer is no. Okay. The best way is to have representation of everyone in there, because I'm a woman. I'm better positioned to know what other women need, how they feel, you know. So we have to open up that space. I've worked with young people. I have engaged with young people. I've mentored young people.
Okay.
And I know about how they feel. And I know that it is time for all of us to go in there. So I'm not afraid that I'm going to meet a certain category of people. You know, there's going to be a big shaking for 2023.
Oh, great. Now, because you talked about NSAS protest, so let's talk about NSAS protest. Now, you see that during that protest, a lot of people, everyone were outside, activists. You had all of them outside. And if you were following all of the activities via social media, you find out that most or all of the activists, they got more of their followers and popularity because they lend their voice in that movement, in that NSAS movement, either finance or whichever way, but at least they were able to do it publicly. So where were you at that time, and what activities were you able to do around that time?
I was in Minna, and I was mobilizing, especially within the northern youth, to ensure that the North was also lending its voice and trying to make the northern youth understand that if the southern youth perceive that the SARS is a problem, we can join hands with the movement and table what we also perceive is our problem. And that problem of insecurity is what we pushed alongside the NSAS dialogue. We were on the Twitters, we were on Instagram, you know, condemning every time something, you know, wrong happened. Like the very first time that the thugs came into the streets, we were able to analyze quickly and know what that meant, and then began to see how we can influence and re-strategize around that, you know, phenomenon, so that the protest does not get bastardized by the infiltration of hoodlums. You know, of course, we knew that that was a game on its own. It was a gimmick to cause a distraction and to give that movement a bad name. So we had lots of campaign online. We were engaging as older activists, you know, in the background and influencing what was going on. Okay. And there were times that some people felt like some groups weren't qualified to, you know, to lend their voices to this movement. And we were all there to say, no, we are all equally affected by these things, and we shouldn't discriminate. If anybody feels that they have suffered injustice, let them come on board and express that.
All right. So talk to us about your manifesto. What's new that Nigeria has not heard or seen before?
Yeah, so the manifesto is there is something for everybody. That's the bottom line in the manifesto. We are finalizing it, but this is where it's going to. We believe that as a people, in our diversity, we can unite and have a common cause and have a consensus. Until we have that consensus as a nation, we will keep having all the divides that is causing people to pull away at the country in different directions. So for me, the language of intersectionality is very, very important, and we have to bring that on board as we are coming to create changes in Nigeria and to put the country in the right path. If we don't understand how security intersects with the economy, if we don't understand how economy intersects with political participation, if we don't understand how all of these intersect with our health and well-being, then we will not move anywhere. We'll keep moving in circles, you know. So our responsibility is bringing that, you know, emerging strategy of dealing with issues on board governance in Nigeria. How do we build a consensus out of all the differences we have within the country, given the intersectionalities amongst peoples and amongst our issues, so that together we can move this country forward without some people tearing it in one direction or the other, or people asking for secession. We've been together for years. I believe in one Nigeria, but I believe that we have to do some work for people to have a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership, equally for this country to remain as one, as I love it to. And that is the kind of passion that I'm bringing on board. Inclusivity is also one of those things that we will be doing very strongly. It means that people will have a say. We won't be silencing voices. So if people protest, they have a right. We don't go picking people and locking them up because they expressed an opinion. That is the beauty of democracy. That you can say this is red, and I can say no, it is blue in my eye. From where I stand, I see blue. And you would respect the fact that, where I stand from, I'm seeing blue. If red is the best, what can you do so that from where I stand, I can also see red? You know, so we need to begin to have those conversations among all the stakeholders of the country. You know, we need to kind of devolve power from the center, you know, so that everybody can feel like they are holding on to Nigeria, and together we will make this country work.
Okay, so now taking a cue from what you just said, that you have a lot of people that have been calling for restructuring. Some have said it has to be devolution of power. Some have said it has to be creating more states. Some have said it has to be talk about state policing and all of that. To you, what does restructuring mean? Restructuring for me means that we need to look at what the conference we had that sought to review the Constitution
came up with very strong points, you know, and somehow we have jettisoned the content, you know. How do we make...
Are you speaking about the 2014 conference?
Confab, yes.
Okay.
How do we make a baggy woman feel like she belongs to Nigeria and that she has a say? How do we make the Igbo young men feel like they belong to Nigeria and they have a say? How are the resources of this country managed? Who is even managing them? How are they allocated and distributed? These are things that are not cast in stone. They can't remain the same forever. We need to constantly review these things. We can't keep it the same and expect that we will be able to forge ahead as a nation. There are things globally that are happening, internally that are happening, that cause for us to rethink how resources are distributed across board. We need to visit that.
Okay.
And we need to ensure that every faction of the nation has a say, and everyone's say is legitimate. We can't just wave one nation, one part of the, or one region of the country with the back of our hand away and then assume that it will be well. It won't work that way. So for me, restructuring has to do with, you know, who controls resources, who has access to resources, how are the resources distributed. Check our budget, for example, and see what is going on. Why would we spend 24% or more just servicing loans? And why are we taking loans? Why are we not looking internally to see where we can reduce cost here and there? You know, I don't see us adjusting our lifestyle. Instead, we want to keep the lifestyle and then keep borrowing to keep the lifestyle. I think it is reckless.
Okay. All right. So Nigeria actually needs someone who understands a bit of everything. We talk about the economy, security, territorial integrity, you talk about technology, talk about money and finance like you talked about, and you talk about she needs someone who is a director, who is a leader, a builder, everything in between, including an entertainer. At least at some point we need to just take a breather. So, and not someone who is actually a novice, or maybe just leaves it at I will get experts, advisors at all of this. So do you possess all of that qualities, or you would grow on the job?
No, I have everything it takes. You know, I was just thinking recently, I'm like, Father, thank you. You've taken me through so much school and I didn't know what you were doing it for. I've been in NDLEA. I know what security is about. I know what to do to make the place have a sense of security. And I have the capacity to understand how a decision can influence on a people. Is the impact positive or is it negative? How do you minimize harm in the way you make your decisions? You know, I think these are some of the subtleties that are missing right now. You know, I have it, and I know that we need to revamp our security outfit totally. I can't understand a police station that is not computerized. I can't understand in this era. So the people who are giving us sleepless nights are computerized. They have drones. They are using the most sophisticated weapons. What is wrong with us? You know, I get very, I have it. So give me a chance and then you say. Okay,
now taking a cue from what you just said, that you are running for the office of the president presidency come 2023 at such a time as this, when insecurity has gone record high. You talk about the economy is bleeding at the moment. You talk about the precipitous decline of our national currency in relations to other global currencies. Businesses are packing up, and unemployment rates going above 33% and all. In fact, the list is quite endless with all of this quagmire. So it means that whoever that is coming in does not need to be told what is happening. At least you have seen it happening. And then Nigerians, I'm sure, do not need someone who would come and give excuses of, okay, we inherited empty treasury, or we inherited this insecurity that's been there. You know that it has been there. So whoever that is coming in knows the shoe that you're fitting in. So how do you intend to address these situations if or when you inherit them? You know, I think first of all, we need to understand that what Nigerians have been looking for and what brought us to this point is that we were looking for a magician. We wanted one person who could fix it. We sit down comfortably in our sitting rooms and let that person fix it. We've been praying for a Messiah. Oh, Lord, send us a Messiah. The question I always asked since 2014, why are you looking for a Messiah? You are also a Messiah. We all will have to bring what it takes. We all have something that we can put on the table to make this nation better. So first of all is to debunk that myth that one magic character can come and with a wave of a wand make all these things go away. It doesn't work that way. However, what we are working at day and night is to come up with a manifesto that does not only promise that we will make $1 1 naira and 1 naira $1, but we want to see how are we going to do these things, you know. So in the interviews that will happen going forward, we will be, you know, explaining how we intend to go about all of these things, you know. What I believe, however, is that security is a center spot in all of these things. There is no way we can grow unemployment with this insecurity because people can't invest. All the investors we are trying to attract by devaluing our naira, how are they going to come when they are not sure of what kind of exodus is going to happen in 2 years, in 3 years? Okay.
Even local people are afraid to invest because we don't know when the insurgents will come and disband our investment. Oh, go to farm, go to farm. Yes, we can go to farm. I come from a native, you know, that farms. Bagi people are farmers. When the people say we don't like to stay in urban areas, we like to stay in urban areas provided we can farm in urban areas. But the way they have so designed and restructured the place, we have even been denied of farmland. So our people have moved to where they can get arable lands to continue their farming, which they enjoy to do. What is happening now? Some people come to the farms, pick up the farmers and just slaughter them. Sometimes they go, they just destroy all the yams that are beginning to sprout. All the maize that are already producing corn are cut down. How can anybody feel secure to invest in agriculture if that is the risk that they stand? Okay, some people harvested and they went and sold. And as they came back home, some people followed them home to take the money of the sales that they've done. So we need to fix the security. Our education will continue to plummet for as long as we are afraid that children will get picked from their classrooms.
And they were still talking about millions of out-of-school children.
And then the few who are in school cannot even feel free in school. Okay. Because everybody is afraid. Schools are trying to do what they can do to make sure children are safe. But from what we have seen, anywhere they want to target, they will target. So insecurity has to be tackled because it's the focus, it's the center point now of all the myriads of problems we have. Okay.
Very quickly, even as we begin to round up, you said you have group coming together. So very quickly, we know that in Nigeria, you have a political structure that we operate here. You must have, at least if you don't have the big bag, you must have the money bags around you, because we've seen a lot of people, a lot of aspirants who has come out to say that yes, they have the money, they have the experience. So for you, do you have the money or you have someone who is bankrolling you?
I don't have anybody bankrolling me.
So how do you intend to run?
I don't have a big bank account anywhere to do this. I'm banking on the fact that there are many Nigerians out there, one, who love the nation like I do, with passion, and who would put everything out like I'm doing to ensure that we have a turnaround.
Okay.
I believe that there are many Nigerians out there who are fed up and angry about the state of this nation. We have the potential to rank among the 5 topmost nations in the world. Many people are angry that we have lost our glory, and they are willing to put in their 50 naira on board, their 100 naira on board, to make sure that we save this country from going down the precipice. Okay. It is all of these angry people like me that will come together and make it work. Okay. And these money bags, mind you, some of them have sense. They know that until there is peace in this nation, and that until everybody has a sense of belonging, even their money is not safe. Their investments are not safe.
Okay, now let's talk about, if you have to talk about sustenance or persistence, because now we saw that last 2019 elections, we saw other people who came forth, and then we saw the Dr. Obi Ezekwesili's, and then all of a sudden, everybody we're all rooting for her. They were all cheering her on. And then all of a sudden, she left. And then some youth felt like, okay, their hopes were dashed. So do you intend to continue at what, or do you intend to at some point stop? Because we know that definitely the money bags might come to dangle some things around, and then maybe ask you to leave your followers for them. No. How far do you intend to go with this race?
All the way. I tell you, it's going to be an all the way race.
Okay.
We should be mindful, however, of the way the political structure is. You can't run as an independent candidate in Nigeria. It has to be on a platform of a party. And in the party, there'll be primaries.
Okay.
You know, so what happens at the primaries? If I emerge, as I plan to, the flag bearer of the party, ahead I go. And I don't think that there is any amount of money.
And if you don't emerge as the flag bearer, do you intend to go for a merger or coalition or something else?
Well, I think that within the party where I am presently, there are conversations already ongoing about a merger.
Oh, okay.
I believe that if the merger takes into cognizance the soul, the well-being of Nigeria, then it is okay. We don't need to tear the nation apart. I am for everything that will make this Nigeria prosper. I want my children's children to have a Nigeria of my dream as a grandmother. I'm not yet a grandmother though. But when they come, let them have a country that I dream for my grandchildren to have. Okay. Not a nation that is bleeding from head to toe. Not a nation that we cannot, you know, predict with confidence what happens in the next 24 hours. Not a nation where young people are just growing and they have hopes, but they are not sure that these hopes and dreams will be realized. We need to have a nation that we can boast about, that we have confidence in, that come what may, this country can stand for me and I can stand for this country.
Okay.
You know.
Thank you so much for your time with us. It's been a very wonderful time having this discussion with you, and we could actually go on and on and on. And it's been a wonderful time having this discussion with you. And we wish you all the best.
Merci. Thank you very much.
All right, then we have been chatting with Dorothy Nuhu Aken'ova. She is a human rights activist, she is a feminist, and she is a presidential aspirant. And it's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. I will definitely see you next time. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabel Orji. God bless Nigeria.